friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. Hey everyone, welcome in. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 must-have books. These are my favorite books of all time, and they fall into 3 categories. Whether you're looking for a summer read to just relax and lay back and let your mind travel to other worlds, or you want some actual facts about how to garden, how to grow herbs, how to use medicinal plants, I have a book for you. Before we dive into today's content, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please take a moment, click the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know if you liked this video. All right, let's begin. The first one is my overall favorite herb books. I have 2 that you should have on your shelf and are really good reference books and overall general herb books. Book number 1. This is called Weeds in the Heart by Nathaniel Hughes and Fiona Owen. This book is beautiful, and I love how it goes into such depth about individual herbs. Here is a map. These are the different herbs that are featured in this book. Wild garlic, primrose, catnip, nettle, dandelion. You can read on and on. If you really want to learn about individual herbs that you might want to grow this summer or use as a medicine, this is a book that will give you not only beautiful illustrations, but it will also give you clinical cases as well as student experiences, not just on the physical level, but also on the emotional and the spiritual level. Look at this. Do you see that shine? This is lemon balm. Look at the way they've beautifully embossed it with this gold print. And there are poems. I mean, it is just delightful. I want to read a few little bits here for you. In the preface, it says, "This book is the opposite of an encyclopedia. It focuses on a relatively small number of plants and small number of uses for a small number of herbs from a highly subjective perspective. We live in an age of supreme disconnection from the land, yet the paradox is our own reemergent need to honor a deep longing for and belonging to the earth, its wildlife, and our own inner wildness and wisdom." This book has emerged from a practice of intuitive herbalism. This is a constantly evolving approach to working with plants that is rooted in the practitioner's direct perceptions of the plant's being. If you are into intuitive herbalism and love beauty and love hearing people's stories, you're going to love this book. The second general book I would highly recommend for gardeners and plant lovers alike is Secret Medicines from Your Garden, Plants for Healing, Spirituality, and Magic. This is by Ellen Evert Hopman. What I love about this book is it goes into the medicinal uses of common herbs and weeds and things that we often grow in our garden. It also talks about tree medicine, and not just the medicine as it relates to our physical body, but the medicine as it relates to our emotional and our spiritual bodies. There's a whole chapter on animal medicine and how to attract certain animals to your garden, how certain animals in the garden can be something that you can look into to learn more about yourself and what energies you might be attracting. There's a chapter on working with plant spirits, prayers you can offer to the land and to the plants before you sit in meditation with the herbs, and a whole chapter on bee medicine. What is bee medicine? Who were the ancient people who worked with hives and worked with bees? There's a whole chapter on hedgerows. Hedgerows are the ways that we separate one part of land from another part. She talks about the importance of creating hedgerows that not only have symbolic meaning, but also provide medicine and food. She gives different examples of berries you can grow, trees you can plant, bushes that can provide both shelter and shade and separation on your property, and the old historical and magical uses and importance of having hedgerows on your property. There are beautiful prints and illustrations of the medicinal herbs. If you want to understand how to use them, there's a whole reference area in the back with constitutional healing. This will help you figure out based on your own individual constitution, which herbs might be best for you and why. There is a glossary of herbal contraindications if you're on medications or if you have any specific health conditions. She goes through things to be mindful of while you're using any of the herbs. This is just an overall wonderful guidebook to herbs. Oh, one other thing about this book that I love how she talks about the doctrine of signatures and how the colors and the shapes of different herbs and flowers can tell us about the uses and the spiritual energies of each plant. I think it's a really nice book for getting a well-rounded perspective of spirituality, herbs, and medicinal use. On to the next group of my favorite plant books. These are books that you will love if you're a gardener, if you want to grow herbs, if you want to understand how to identify plants in nature. The first book is Botany in a Day, The Patterns of Plant Identification by Thomas J. Elpel. This is a field guide to North America. There are similar books that you can find if you live in a different part of the world. What I love about this book is that it divides the plants by plant families and teaches you how to identify different botanical features of plants, including the stamen, the pistil, all of the flower parts, and being able to get an understanding of the common traits found in plant families. In my work as a teacher and botanist, this is my first guidebook that I offer my students when learning botany. Here's an example. This is a patterns of the mint family. When you're learning plant families, you do need to understand, what do the flowers look like? Often they have very similar features. What is the growing pattern of leaves? Are they opposite or alternate? What are some of the shared features in the stalk? So for example, mint family plants have a square stem, opposite leaves, and they have these very specific kind of orchid looking flowers, and they're often aromatic. In this book, they give examples of all of the very common mint family plants, including one of my favorites. Look at this, wild bergamot, Monarda fistulosa. And when you understand the groupings of plants by family, it helps you to understand their medicines, because plants that grow in the same families often have the same or very similar chemical compounds. And these chemical compounds have very similar actions in the body, right? By studying and understanding the connections that plants have by family, it will really speed up the way you understand medicinal herbs. That's true for all of these plant families that are outlined, including the Asteraceae family, the rose family, and also the lily family. All of these are just really well organized and outlined in this book. So this is a must-have. The second book in this category is the Perennial Gardener's Design Primer. Now, this is one that you can pick up at most bookstores, as I did. This one is a great book if you're trying to understand how to design and plan a garden. These two master gardeners walk you through their own design strategy, helping you figure out what is on your wish list, what kind of water do you have available, what soil type do you have, and how to create a beautiful aesthetic by layering different leaves, leaf structures, plant heights, flowering times. So you can create a garden that is in constant bloom, has a variety of colors, and really shows off your own aesthetic. There's nice features like this designer's checklist to figure out what is it that you want, and looking at both the height and the depth you want to have with each type of plant. It goes through different plants for borders, plants for hedges, plants that you can have as medicines, special effects, how to problem solve issues with your yard or garden. It is just a great book to have on hand. And this one is by Stephanie Cohen and Nancy Andra. I'll provide links to all of these books in the description below. Third book for gardeners is this one, written by Rico Czech and illustrated, I think, by his daughter, Senna Czech. This book, along with all of Rico's books, are wonderful for people who are growing medicinal herbs. I love all these cute drawings. There's this mouse character that goes throughout the entire book, telling you and sharing with you different tips for growing, for amending your soil. If you really want to get serious about having healthy soil, there's a full chapter on creating the best type of soil. There's also little stories like the tale of the golden dragonfly. He talks about the benefits of diversity within a garden and pest management, how to make your own potting soil if you're going to have raised beds, how to prepare the ground, the importance of a forest community and planting intentionally into forested areas. There's a chapter on trees. This book is a wonderful guide if you're looking to grow medicinal plants. If you're looking at growing at-risk medicinal plants like black cohosh or golden seal, he has another book at growing at-risk medicinal herbs. The fourth book was written by a friend of mine, and this book just came out last year, The Celestial Garden by Jane Holly Stevens. She is a fellow herbalist, a member of the American Herbalist Guild, and lives here in the Midwest in Wisconsin, just about 4 hours away from me. Jane and I have known each other for years. She is a lovely human and a wonderful teacher. In this book, she talks about her journey as the owner and developer of 4-Element Herbals, which can be found in Whole Foods and in co-ops across the United States. She talks about growing herbs, vegetables, and flowers in sync with the moon and the zodiac signs. This is a book for people who love astrology and love herbs and are interested in learning how to plant and harvest and make medicines with the ancient practice of zodiacal gardening. She shares her own chakra planetary garden, different rituals, harvest moon rituals, a gratitude for the harvest, how to collect and dry herbs, creating bundles, how to harvest vegetables at the right time, sowing seeds according to the moon's influences. This is kind of like a farmer's almanac of planting based on what is happening in the skies and with the lunar cycles. A beautiful book, a beautiful woman. This book is a must-have. All right. Now we are going to go to the fun reads. These are books just for your pleasure. They do involve herbs, but they're just fun. They're just good books for you to read. I think you're really going to love them. This is my number one. I think I've read this book maybe 5 times so far, and I'm planning on adding it again to this summer. It's rotation. This book is called Of People and Plants by Maurice Massengue. He is a French herbalist who comes from a long line of herbal practitioners. He tells the story of growing up, gathering herbs for his father, who was a village herbalist, and then taking his herbal practice to the city, how he worked with people who would have lines down the cobblestone streets in France, people wanting to see him for his miraculous herbal cures. He shares recipes for his herbal curing foot baths, stories of when he saw different princes and princesses all throughout Europe, people showing up on his doorstep with gout and him doing herbal wraps, and the miraculous recovery of all of these different people, from country folk to great people of high stature and royalty. It's a fun read. In the back, he does have his recipes. If you are a practicing herbalist, you can really learn a little bit about herbs and how folk herbalists like Maurice Massengue use them. But it's also just a delightful read. And you know, in the beginning I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, he's kind of arrogant. And then I'm like, no, he's just French. Which is this beautiful sort of way that they carry themselves. And they are so proud of their knowledge. And so this book, I just will read it again and again because it's just charming, and the adventure and his storytelling is phenomenal. The next book, which is a must read, has really changed my mind. When I talk about books, and I've shared books that really have changed the way I understand reality, how plants engage with the human psyche, this is the book that I credit: Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm, Into the Dreaming of Earth by Stephen Herod Buhner. Now, I've read most of Stephen's books. They are all wonderful, but this one in particular is really good for bending your mind. If you really want to shift your perception of the world, this is a must read. And what I love about Stephen's writing style is that he blends poetry, quotes from people like James Hillman from Depth Psychology, and he brings modern science and research of bacterial colonies and how bacterial and viral networks think and how they perceive reality. It is so rich and full of ways of shifting the way we perceive ourselves as being these higher beings. But really, we have a lot to learn from the plant fungal, and viral world. This book I read for the first time when I was in college. It is by Starhawk and it's called The Fifth Sacred Thing. I'll never forget the first time I read this and realizing that a world of peace and prosperity and collaborative living is possible. And I later learned that Starhawk was a student of Maria Gimbutas, who was a pioneer of the feminist movement and was the first female archaeologist to bring up images of the Neolithic goddess and the goddess worshiping culture of what we call Old Europe. I love how Starhawk basically brings us into the future. This book takes place, I think it's in like 2027, which is kind of funny now, being that it was written in the 90s. So it's like supposed to be the future now. She brings into consciousness the way communities can live sustainably, ritualistically, and bringing world cultures and religious practices together in a cohesive and peaceful way in a dystopian world. This book talks about the fifth sacred thing, and I won't tell you what it is. She'll share with you the four sacred elements, but the fifth sacred thing is something she reveals a little bit later through these dynamic stories of rich characters, of love and loss and drama. This book takes you through a futuristic world where you really start to see how far humans have come from our original way of living, but how it would be possible for us to get back to a way of living that is in harmony with nature and the elements. This book is a beautiful, fun summer read. The last book that I wanted to share with you is called God's Hotel. This one isn't really about herbalism. It was recommended by one of my spiritual teachers, Mimi Walker. It's a story about a almshouse in California, very different way of what I call, quote, slow medicine. People who were recovering from surgery, recovering from mental health breakdowns, recovering from all sorts of sicknesses in a very old model of medicine. And if you are a nurse, a healthcare practitioner, and you're wondering how one could blend old world medicine along with the medicine of modern times, shares a dynamic first person encounter to holistic medicine, how important it is to have community, gardening, and to really fight for holism in long-term healthcare settings. God's Hotel by Victoria Sweet, a doctor, a hospital, and a pilgrimage to the heart of medicine. This is what I have for you today. All of these books, these 10 books, are absolute must reads. I encourage you to pick maybe one or two that really stood out to you, where you were like, I really want to read this. This really excites me. Take a look at the descriptions below and you can find links to each of these books. My image for you is that you're going to take this book and you're going to find a cozy, comfortable place this summer to just let your nervous system relax, let your mind soften, and to absorb in someone else's story and someone else's perspective, and the perspective maybe even of the plants. So please let me know what you think. If you've read any of these books, please mention them in the comments section for our other listeners so they can hear your take. And as always, please leave a comment if you have any questions or if there's any other content that you'd like for me to cover for you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next episode.